Rebecca, why are you late? But why are you late? Can anyone explain it to me? I swear I wanted to look pretty for you all guys, but I got so excited working on my project that I didn't notice the time. So for those who don't know, I have an inquiry project, I think. I'll talk about it later on. So, yes, I wanted to share with you something that my friend had written. He shared what had happened in Tehran. He told me that while he was writing it, he was crying. There is no doubt. Like it's such a fast switch in the mood. But I thought I'd come up here and share it with you. But before I start, I think first of all, let me wait for people to join in. But in the time, smash the like in support of the Iranian people and Rebecca as well. Like the amount of deaths, now the official number seems to be 60,000. It's probably in the 100,000s. Am I surprised? No. I mean, but it's hard. It's hard. It's very hard. I did. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Where are you coming from? Tell me where you're coming from, because people are still joining in, so I'm waiting on them. You can see I have like those red dots that I didn't have time to hide. I'm sorry. Well, if you are not feeling chatty, then you are not feeling chatty. It is what it is. Rebecca, do you think the IRGC will really attack Israel again before they fall, or are they too deorganized now? I think they will attack everything that they can. I think they would pull out the ballistic missiles and whatever, and Allahu Akbar, whatever it hits, it hits. If it hits Iraq, it hits Iraq. Russia, Georgia, like whatever, like Europe, Israel, just launch. That's my guess. Hello, California. Sup, Turkey. Yeah, we're probably gonna see literal hell. Yeah, we will see hell. Yeah, we'll see hell. All right, you guys are ready? Let's let me share. No, let me share my screen. So he texted me this. Okay, how do I read it in the most effective way? This. I think it is good. All right. You're in the Galilee, 700 west of Iran. I think we're in about the same area. Hello, Jerusalemites. Yeah, our flight must have been scary. All right. Tehran in the month that passed, by Abdul Abdi, journalist and owner of independent media Abdi Media. Tehran in the month that passed was a city that breathed yet had its voice choked. Its silent street carried a hidden narrative, the same story that began years before the first cries from the rooftops and public squares, and that now echoed once again in the cold corners of January. But this time, on the 7th and the 8th of January, rivers of blood ran through the streets. In the morning, central Tehran seemed common on the surface. Taxis moved as usual. Many shops were closed due to earlier strikes by merchants following the currency fluctuations. Every glance was filled with anxiety and complexity. No sound could be heard, yet everyone were waiting. It was the moment before the storm. Finally, at 8 p.m., what everyone had expected took place. Women, young people, men, even many children walked quietly toward a common destination. As they reached beneath the Satakan overpass, suddenly a woman's voice rose from within the crowd. Death to the dictator. Voices followed one after another. The people demanded one thing: the fall of the regime that had exhausted them. The crowd grew by the minute, stretching so far that its end could no longer be seen. Freedom. Witnessing a mass that could touch freedom for even 1 hour was remarkable. But it did not last long. Green laser beams appeared, startling the crowd. Yet no one retreated. Instead, they shouted louder, "This is the final battle. Pahlavi will return." The first tear gas struck directly the hand of a 9-year-old girl who had come with her parents. Ah, gas canister. I'm so sorry. I do with all. Please bear with me. The first tear gas canister struck directly the head of a 9-year-old girl who had come with her parents. Panic spread. Some people lost control. The mother screamed, My daughter can't breathe." And still, the crowd did not scatter. Later, really, the first victim was a 9-year-old? And still the crowd did not scatter. A strange collective fury filled the air, and suddenly people hurled whatever they held toward the government forces, mostly Basij militia. As we tried to grasp what was happening, gunshots rang out from several corners of the street. Everyone ran to escape the bullets. Each glance toward the front line showed people falling like branches torn from a tree. Ahead, groups of men in plain clothes, armed with machetes. How do you say this word, by the way? Because I say it machetes, but I've been told that it's wrong. I'm such an horrible flow keeper. But yes, we try to grasp what is happening. Gunshots rang out from several corners of the street. Everyone ran to escape the bullets. Each glance towards the front line showed people falling like branches torn from a tree. Ahead, groups of men in plain clothes armed with machetes waited for the demonstrators. It was hell. That night, Iran saw hell with its own eyes. A pregnant woman fell in the dense crowd. There was no help. Just run was the only sound echoing around us. Run where? Fear mixed with rage burned in our chests. Don't run, people shouted. We stood where we were and chanted again. Daggers emerging from nowhere cut into the ribs, arms, and throats. Who was killing people that night? Government agents deliberately targeted heads and faces. They did not spare children. Blood-soaked bodies lay across the shoulders of the families. Another man's scream froze everyone. His wife could no longer walk. She was standing still. She collapsed forever. Fatma Abdali, from 9 p.m. of the 9th of the 7th of January, never ran again. Who is Fatima Abdullahi? Everywhere you looked, bodies were scattered. Elderly, young, women, children. They were all there, and all died that night, even those who lived to see the next morning. Fatima never saw the sunrise. blood. The air was thick with its smell. Fatima remained until the morning inside a car, in her husband's arms, so she would not be abducted like thousands of others. There was no safe place left for the injured or the dead. That night, bodies became the people's most precious belongings. Cries and sobs echoed everywhere. Many wounded never reached hospitals or died before dawn. Government agents stormed hospitals and executed the wounded so that no witness would remain, so that no one could recount what they did to a people fighting for freedom. When numbers became names, January 2026 was not just another turbulent month. It was the month where the death toll, the wounded, the detained replaced every official narrative. People understood the truth through the sound of bullets, the smell of blood, and hospitals overflowing with young faces. Between January 7th and 8th, Tehran and dozens of cities resembled a burning map. Protests spread across all 31 provinces. Millions took to the streets as the state shut down the internet, phone services, and every communication channel. This blackout was not silence. The screams were recorded on bodies instead of media. Official versus unofficial figures, a war over numbers. No figure has yet captured the full extent of the massacre, but the contradictions alone reveal the depth of the tragedy. According to data collected from hospitals, emergency centers, and medical sources inside Iran, by the end of January, it was reported that around 16,500 people had been killed and more than 330,000 injured, mostly young people, targeted by security forces. Iran Human Rights, based in Norway, reported on January 13th that at least 3,428 protesters had been killed and over 10,000 arrested, noting the most deaths occurred between January 7th and 11th. Human rights and medical sources estimated the real number of fatalities to be between 20,000 and 42,000 nationwide. Meanwhile, the Islamic Republic presented a far lower figures. Some officials claim 3,117 total deaths, only some of which they attributed to the security forces. Others reduced to a total of about 2,000, mixing protesters and security personnel, insisting that terrorists were involved. This deep gap between official and unofficial figures became a battlefield of its own, a struggle over who has the right to narrate how many people died in Iran's streets. January 7th, the day hospitals collapsed. In Tehran alone, at least 6 hospitals recorded 217 protest-related deaths that day, most caused by gunshots to the head and torso. Doctors and nurses described emergency rooms that looked more like war zones than medical facilities, with uniforms soaked in blood until morning. One nurse recounted that during the peak of violence, hospital phones malfunctioned and many wounded were brought in private cars, some dying in the back seat. Many were never recorded or were seized by the security forces. Families were forced to pay 700 million to 1 billion riyals to retrieve bodies or compelled to register their children as basij. Others found their loved ones buried anonymously without their knowledge. January 8th, the night Tehran became a real hell. An eyewitness said that from around 7 p.m., the crowds grew, and by 8 p.m., the clashes turned intense. Gunfire was heard in several areas. Security forces entered the street, with a new formation, blocking routes, forcing shops to close, and turning off street lights, transforming the city into a battlefield. According to his account, agents were stationed every 100 meters, armed to the teeth, firing not only to disperse but to stop people. From 8 p.m. to 1 a.m., in the most intense areas, no ambulances were seen. Phones were cut, even emergency calls were impossible. Many wounded were abandoned on the streets and died from blood loss. Unofficial reports indicate that more than 8,000 eyes were surgically removed in the hospitals across the country. Witnesses said the regime, as in 2020 protests, systematically targeted eyes to leave permanent mark of their crimes. Of their crime. The wounded and the detained, bodies turned into statistics. If the dead represent the visible face of violence, the wounded and detained are its hidden half. Leaked hospital data suggests that over 330,000 injured, many from bullets, pallets, beatings, and torture. Iran Human Rights reported over 10,000 arrests, many during street confrontations and other in nighttime raids. Authorities labeled the detainees rioters or terrorists, aiming to normalize the arrests. But details tell another story. Teenagers identified via city cameras and abducted from their homes, wounded people taken from hospital beds directly to prisons, families who, for weeks, didn't know where their children were held. 2 sleepless nights, what the accounts reveal. The most shocking part of the story is not the numbers, but the narratives captured in the image, but the narrative captured in images, interviews, and testimonies. Some areas saw residents throwing stones at surveillance cameras to avoid being identified, only to be met with live fire from rooftops. How many of those assholes are there? Tehran was divided into several protests fronts. In each, groups of demonstrators faced rings of armed forces. A young man said, Tehran that night was a real hell. There was no way forward and no way back. Only gunfire and people suddenly collapsing on the ground. Human rights organizations described an unprecedented mass killing and identified a consistent pattern. Excessive force, shots aimed at upper body and head, prevention of medical aid, followed by denial and manipulation of statistics. This pattern turned Tehran, even when silent, into a city where the sound of gunfire still echoed in people's fears. Tehran after January. Days later, what remained was not like Days later, what remained were not just broken windows or damaged walls, but a network of shared memories connecting hospitals, streets, homes, and detention centers. Every number, every number in these statistics carries a name that may never appear in the media. Fatemeh Abdali, 43, a 20-year-old who joined the protest for the first time, a mother who found her son's name on a nameless hospital sheet, a nurse who still hears the last breath of a bullet-ridden patient. Iranians now wait for a miracle. Tehran in the month that passed is not merely a report on a protest wave. It is an open case file where each new account adds another number until those numbers return to faces and names, until all the missing are found. The city will remain suspended between mourning and rage. Why? When I how do I react? There are several thoughts I had when I read it, and one of them is they all like, you know how I said that let's say 10% of Iranian people, 10% are the regime, maybe 5%. In a population of 90 million people, that's maybe, let's say, at least 5 million. They all need to die. They all need to die. The other thing I thought after this conclusion is that, you know, I grew up, I was born in the USSR. I mean, I wasn't born. I was born in Russia, but before I was born, the USSR had phone, and there wasn't an abundance of food. There wasn't. But when I read it, I realized I didn't think about it until today. But I just got this realization that how lucky it is the way that the USSR had fallen. So it made me realize that, like, you know, looking back, right, the hardship of the USSR falling. Well, now I say thank you, for it could have been way worse. All right, I can see you guys are saying that. I'm gonna share some. Let me scroll some with you. The I think I've seen what I wanted to see here. Where did it go? Here it is. Yes, exactly. We're in Russia, Nizhny Novgorod. All right. Let's see what's going on. By the way, I asked on an update when it comes to the Cyrus Accords. Yeah, the Trump, I don't know what's going on in his mind, really. I mean, you could have told he went crazy when he decided to be friends with Giuliani. But I also don't think it matters that much, honestly, because my friend who works on the Cyrus Accords said that the Abraham Accords were a very important part of the Cyrus Accords. So the plan to restore and rebuild Iran was also like to do it most effectively. They had actually included the Arab countries. Well, speaking of the devil, here you go. Speaking of the devil, Saudi Arabia is leading a campaign against the UAE, Israel, and the Abraham Accords. This should not surprise anyone who understood from the beginning that the transformation of the kingdom was not driven by ideological repentance, but by economic calculations. So the Cyrus Accords were actually written in a way that optimized, right? Like the issues in Iran are go deep, right? The water issues and many other issues that need to be fixed. They had included the assumption that the Abraham Accord could be expanded. To which I say, what kind of an idiot? And I said, I said it directly to my friend, counts on Arabs. What kind of retard? Sorry, friend, I love you. And apparently retard is like a no word. Like if you say retard in the US, it's like you get excluded and you need to live with the hillbillies instead of the, city people. But lucky for me, I'm not in America, so. Obviously, it was not genuine. So the other thing to take yeah, I agree. The other thing that had been mentioned, and which I think was maybe you should have thought of it ahead of time, was that oil would be cheaper if Iran also starts exporting oil in a legal way, and Saudi Arabia is going to run out of money before it runs out of oil. It had discovered. So, of course, it doesn't want Iran to succeed. But I say, listen, my plan was different. You guys remember when I showed the map? What did I say when I showed the map, right? When I need to open a map so that I can repeat what I said. Okay, so let's open a map. And apparently, according to this map, the most, for some time, the most important city was Herzliya. Here. Okay. So here is Iran. Okay, this is Israel. And here's what I said. I said, imagine a beautiful world. Iran is free. Israel is free. And then Iran and Israel, they meet up and hug, right? And the entire area in the area, except for the UAE can stay. It's like it needs some cleaning, right? So we Iranian from one side, Israel from the other, and like clean, just for the betterment of humanity. Just because we need to be able to meet each other and hug. We can also leave the Kurds. The Kurds are fine. Actually, I wanted to talk with Armin about the Azeris. Like they should watch out for the Azeris. And the Azeris have bad plans, but that's a different conversation. I mean, I know because the Azeris, the North, the Azerbaijanis, they've been telling on the Azeris in Iran that they have bad thoughts, very bad thoughts. So just a different conversation anyway, because like I want to take a moment and talk about, because I'm friends with the Kurds, and some Kurds like want to, especially Kurds in Kurdistan. So Kurds in Kurdistan, I don't know what the Kurds in Iran think. Kurds in Kurdistan, in Mosul, like they want to, they're separatists, but it's not a. It's pretty easy to be separatist when it's not your country anyway. You're not part of Iran, but it is. I watched an interview which I really appreciated with this Iranian guy who was super realistic. Like, we have to have territorial integrity at least for several years, because otherwise we have Taliban here, we have Arabs here, which I don't need to, I don't see, I don't, you know what, I don't need to say which terrorist group they belong to. Okay, they're just Arabs. It's good enough as far as I'm concerned. And Turkey, which is ISIS, by the way, if you those are wondering. So yes, they have to keep a territorial integrity, because otherwise they're going to have a lot of butchers running around. The Azeris are a type of Turks. So, thank you so much for your support, Apollo, Zeus. Thank you for your super sticker. We need to get Bibles into this whole region. What are you going to, like, what Bibles are going to help a bunch of people that cannot read? The Iranians are already converting. They left Islam, right? Those who can read left it. Now, the rest of the gang here, like, do you think do you think they can read? Like, what is this? Don't count on it. Don't. Just like the Abraham Accords. Don't. Trump trusting Azerbaijan was another betrayal. No, you can actually, the Azeris in Azerbaijan are okay. They just live in the most awful geographic area, honestly. I mean, listen, they're stuck between Turkey and Iran and Russia. Like, with neighbors like that, it's gonna drive you crazy. But they're not, considering their neighborhood, they're not that bad. But the Azeris in Iran are a different story, because the Azeris in Azerbaijan think that the Azeris in Iran are dangerous. And the conversation that I've heard in Russian media, okay, so it wasn't Russian media, it was a Georgian media, but the conversation was in Russian. And they talk, the Georgians talk with the Azeris in Russian, because that's the lingua franca in that area, about Iran. And it had a lot of interesting information about who is actually running. First of all, we all had a suspicion that it was Azeris that actually ruled the country, which is funny. So the Azeris come and say, listen, it is the Azeris who took over Iran and had been ruling Iran for the last whatever years. Since even during the Shah time, it was mostly Azeris that were taking over. And then he proceeded to say something smart. He said, but we don't like, but I think Azeris don't like Iran because Iran had suppressed the Azeri culture inside Iran. And I was like, you know, when somebody is an asshole, when we say we are the ones in charge, and then we are mad at the country because they suppress our culture. Who is suppressing your culture if you are the one in charge? I get it. Asshole Azeris suppress the culture of regular Azeris. By the way, they do it with the Persians as well, right? They Arabize Persia because it's Islamic. Islamic means Arab. So we got settled both Turks and Azeris. I think Azeris, like Azerbaijan, those in Azerbaijan leave them. please. My ask, okay? Like we can re-examine whether or not they need to be in the how do I say it nicely, in the execution row after we execute all those who must be executed, okay? But for now, like leave the Azeris in Azerbaijan. And also I want to say, yes, it's very easy to say, oh, Nagorno-Karabakh, poor Armenians. I mean, we need to see Armenians in, you know. Armenians are a little bit of assholes as well. They are the most anti-Semitic in the area. So I have like a personal strife with them. They will assist. I don't think Trump wants to assist Iran, but Israel had given. First of all, like, here's the problem, right? So don't forget, I said ego is a very important thing here. If Israel strikes, it's going to be very problematic because it looks like if America is moving all its assets, right? Or anything like that, like America is like, we're going to do it, right? The moment Trump said, hey, I'm coming, Israel is now in a position where, okay, like they said dibs. America said dibs, okay? And I don't know, I think it's like complicated to undib them, right? Because it's like an honor game. Erdogan is behind the Azeris. Okay, again, let's look at, I mean, of course, in Iran, yeah. Anyway, I want Iran to be free, Israel free, and then we hug, we clean here, and then we take over the world. Woohoo! And Greenland. We take Greenland as well. And Iceland. Yes, we take Iceland as well. But we also take the southern part. Like finally we're gonna solve the issues with like the Falkland Islands and stuff, you know. We're gonna bring peace by taking over. This is like the Islamic version of peace. Peace is whenever the entire world submits to us. That's the plan. Yes, look how small the world is. It's so small, so tiny. Look at it, just a marble, like so much black, you see? And believe me, like we are lucky we can see it. It's like so far. How far can we go? No far. That's it. The world is a big zoo. Yeah, I agree. Okay. Do you guys have any questions? Because I just wanted to share this writings. Oh yeah, maybe I wanted to share things on X. I just remembered. Okay, let's see what's happening now. Yay, support Rebecca. Yes, buy me coffee, please. Thank you. By the way, is there anyone here that works in corporate who wants to have a different culture in the corporate where there is room for inquiry and people speak up their mind instead of self-censoring? Please let me know, because I'm working on applying that. Building teams that are responsible for inquiry inside corporates, like our innovation teams and like is HR. What do you mean I cannot fix? I can fix it. Here's what I'm gonna do. So I thought about it. So I'm gonna implement a program which I called Discover, Explore, and Inquire. And in short, I call it DEI. And it's going to take over all the companies in the world, I'm telling you. Discover, explore, inquire. I love you much, but that one is monster. But you know, I have a lot of people who joined me, which are also big monsters. So I'm calling you all. If there is anyone here that is also a monster, come join the mission. Because I split it, okay? And I also miss. So I have one. I'm gonna lead the business. Another person is gonna lead the education. Another person is leading the fight against anti-Semitism, and I want another one who would lead the media department. So. AI will take over anything that uses word. And here's the thing. I did entire research where I show that there are things that AI cannot take away, and inquiry is one of them. Asking questions. AI gives you answers. It doesn't know what to question, right? You have to prompt it. And also, like, it can't touch grass. So, for example, unless you tell them, hey, the grass in my garden is yellow, what do I need to do? How would AI know that the grass in your garden is yellow and that you need to do something? If you have a mindset of inquiry set up in your brain, you see something and you ask question, you prompt yourself, and AI cannot do that for you because you decide what questions you have. Another one, Denmark is going Islamic. Thank you for the skepticals. Believe me, I have a good plan. I have a very good plan. Don't underestimate me. Mostly because even if you're right, isn't it better to be wrong sometimes? It's like all those who said, oh, there is no hope for Iran. So don't be right. Sometimes be wrong. How much grip does Soros Foundation has in America? Oh, in Armenia. On Armenia? I don't know. America. Cannot read. Is there anyone here who works at corporate? Is there anyone here that has like an impressive job? Because especially like, well, I have a lot of meetings, honestly. Listen, it's gonna be one company at a time, okay? But DEI took over, so DEI is gonna take over again. But this time it will be discover, explore, or engage. I didn't decide yet. Is it better to explore or engage? And inquire. And I'm gonna market it. I looked, it's like, and here's the plan. So you know how there is an HR and there are innovation teams. I plan to have inquiry teams. So inquiry is supposed to oil the machine. I can show you, even though I don't know if you want to see my work, like, because it's still a draft. Those are drafts. And also, like, it's not very like nice in the looks department. It's kind of black and white, and even doesn't have the graphs don't even have arrows. By the way, did you guys see the presentation I've made about inquiry as identity? I shared it in the Discord group, and in the Telegram group. So you guys need to check it out. So 1 second. I think I need to do like another like session where I share with you the several versions. But maybe I can share it. I don't know. Should I? So, all right. I think it's gonna be a different video. Not this. You guys want to see it? Should I do it like now? But it's like it's unrelated to the live. But okay. All right. Let me share. Huh. Let me export it. And then I can share a PDF. Yeah, okay, fine. I'll do a teaser. It's like, do you guys want to see the black and white one pager? Or do you guys want to see a little bit of the presentation? I'll do the presentation briefly and then I'll do the a little bit of the why is somebody saying they don't want to see it? Okay, do you want to see it or not? This is one. This is interesting. Dealing with communist China. Since communist China has been sending a numerous amount of weaponry to Iran over the last few weeks, intended to be used against us, we should open our weapons flute kit and provide Taiwan with enormous amount of weaponry. Cool. Would the Taiwanese actually use the weapons though? All right, let's show, okay, I show you the presentation first. So this is the presentation I showed to a Jewish forum. I'm just gonna go through it fast because, oh wait, it's open here. How do I do it? Oh, okay, slide 1, okay. So basically, here is what identity is actually made of, okay? So people tell you that your identity is what your hair color is and stuff, but those things change. What your identity is actually is the questions that you ask. So 3 identity defining questions. What questions are allowed? What happens if I disagree? And what happens if I'm wrong? And here are some identity and question, like identity and question are neurologically linked, by the way. So for those who were wondering. So this is why attacking beliefs rarely work. Attacking inquiry triggers existential reaction, and systems suppress questions when identity feels threatened. So people don't defend beliefs, they defend the process that produced them. I'm just going through it pretty. Excuse me, you don't want to see it? You find it uninteresting? Sir? Okay, so let's talk about who triggers them, right? So everybody together. People don't defend beliefs, they defend the process that produced them. So when you ask people questions and they are a product of an environment that doesn't allow asking certain questions, they feel triggered because it hurts their existential, it makes them like, it puts them in an existential crisis loop. And who triggers them? And everybody together. Okay, I want to see in the comments, what is this, everybody? It's more fun when there is a crowd and everybody can shout. the answer. Guys, why no answers in the comments? I feel like you guys talk about it. You're supposed to say the juice, but yes, the juice. And here is why, okay? And it's also, by the way, why people convert to Judaism. Jews are historically the only people consistently singled out across religions and empires for their questioning habit. And this is some of a complaint list. The Jew analyzes everything. He never content, always dissecting. And here's the church fathers complaining about Jews asking too many questions. Here is Muhammad complaining about like the surahs, the Quran, you know, everybody's complaining about Jews asking too many questions. True good to answer. Yes, the Jews loves asking questions. But at the same time, every person that I've seen change their mind about Israel started they started that by asking questions. So curiosity is the gateway. Curiosity, exposure to reason, blah blah blah. This is the most boring. So for us, curiosity is a blessing. For our enemies, it is a threat. They say beautiful gifts. What do you think they did in universities? So what they did in universities, they turned the school system in the West and in universities from inquiry to indoctrination. So this is why we have the crisis of questioning, self-censorship, right? 62% said of the students in a survey of 2022, the 62% said they hesitate to speak freely. Academic freedom decline and fear of asking questions is now the norm, unfortunately. So now Islam took over because everybody is doing the submission thing and not the Israel argue with God thing. And the society becomes stupid. So there is a global collapse in thinking. Innovation slows down. By the way, the amount of innovation slowdown that we're gonna face in a decade or two is gonna be real. It's gonna be super real. And you know, people going crazy. And look at what we get. This is the result. 1/3 of the students say that violence to stop speech can be acceptable. That's the result, right? I mean, I don't know why I had to choose such an hideous background. I don't know. What does it have to do with anything? So here's the thing, creating a communication gap. No shared process, no shared understanding. So it's our turn. We Jews. I mean, yeah. Other civilizations are already investing serious effort in understanding Jewish modes of reasoning and innovation. Well, at least China does. They spent like $1 billion trying to understand how Jewish cognition works. And it shouldn't be just China. Here's the thing, right? Harvard Business Review, companies found that companies that reward inquiry outperform others in creativity and adaptability by 25 to 35%. So that's huge amount of money. So this is a valuable asset. Yes, yes. Here's the project. Project is a questioning framework portable across cultures, ages, institutions. Question debate agency. That's the good. So here's where the project is now, or at least where it was a month ago. Early stage framework defined, core concept tested publicly, cross-disciplinary collaborator network formed. But we are distributed. So I asked the Jews in the room to help me build the war room where we can marionate the entire world to start asking questions. So inquiry as identity. Inquiry is identity. And please ask questions. Please do. I'm looking. Waiting. Let me add the PDF. I'm waiting for questions. Hi, the wrong one. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. Do you think it can be taught after childhood? Not perfectly, but it can be improved. Because some of it is just like technical stuff that is a habit. So there are several action plans. There is the education action plan where you implement that habit by like going to schools. And here's the business plan, which is the one pager that I told you. There's supposed to be arrows, right? And a lot of other things here which are not included yet. Oh, sorry. Because it's a draft. I want it bigger. No, not like this. Just how do I make it bigger? Like this? No, it's the same. So that's the business plan is to basically and go to corporates and have like build inquiry teams or people who would make sure that inquiry stays real. So this is basically the multiple frames, open questioning, ground signals, adaptive innovation. That's the with inquiry. And the left part is with no inquiry, right? You have the management frame, filtered ideas, safe innovation, and then stagnation. So I expand like when inquiry degrades, then it's expensive. I'm sorry it looks weird. It's just, it's a draft. And then I basically discover, explore, inquire, the new DEI. That's the plan. So I think they have to study parenting system of Jews first. Yes, but parents, it's going to take more time. And I think the business world really suffers from that right now. Oh, where are the statistics? I forgot to edit here. Oops. It's work in progress. It's not just. How does your project differ from anti-DEI platforms? First of all, if you know any other DEI platforms, please, we would love to work with them. But the reason it's different than anti-DEI platforms is because it has a method. It has like I don't know. It's like I didn't see anything like it, honestly. There just isn't. I'm using I extracted the Jewish way of thinking in order to do that. And when I explain it to people, but that's the thing. If I share it with you, then that's my product. I'm not going to share it with you. So exactly, it's pro thinking and questioning, 100%. That's the goal. So that's the one pager. I'm working on it. You want a 10% tick for 300K. Okay. let's see what the team members think. Since I've launched this project, there are a lot of people who are interested in joining me. So whoever wants to contribute, whoever wants to join. I wish it was a joke, Rochester. I wish you were joking, but you're saying the truth. Threatening people to think that's in this day and age, that would definitely kill you. Yep. I'll join if there is snacks. If you're gonna bring snacks, we're gonna appreciate it very much. But I'm not joking when I say, you guys, whoever is watching here, if there is anyone here that think that they could contribute. And by the way, there is a reason why it's an open source, right? You guys understand. I framed the problem. I explained how to fight it. I have several, I shared everything with you all because you know, one of the reasons that the AI took over the world is that it allowed assholes from all over the world to use it. So I'm calling upon you, people with a brain all over the world, to implement it in your areas. You see, I have no fear of competition. I just know nobody can do it as well as I do, so it's not really like a problem. I'm honest, like no one can. And I talk to rabbis, I talk to mathematicians, I talk to professors, I talk to economists. I show it, and I was like, and they're like, "Oh, what can you do?" And then I tell them exactly. I give them one example, and they're like, so. Got a link to direct Pips. So they're on Discord and on Telegram. So on Telegram, I shared the presentation. So just comment inside the thread of the presentation so I can see it. And on and then of course, like, you know, worst case, we can go into private chatting. And on Discord, there is an entire section for about like dedicated to this project. So I think if you can just join the Telegram or join the Discord, but I think the Discord is better. So yeah, pips tops for you, join the Discord server. That's the best option. And or email. The email is also all right. Everybody is here going to sleep. I think it's definitely time to go to sleep. Good night, everybody.